Welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. I'm your host Hassan. I have Shovia and Adil with me. We'll be discussing the Manchester United versus West Ham game, where West Ham haven't won in United really in the last 12 games, and that continued really makes it 13 games. Adil, was that one of the reasons maybe why Moyes went really negative with regards to his lineup and the way he set up?
No, I think Moyes just basically, like a lot of the big teams against United, they changed the whole setup because they're so worried about United's counter-attacking and pace. And we saw what happened to Man City. So I think that the City result may have had an effect in Moyes' and West Ham's bravery to play the way they do. I just thought it was ridiculous how much respect they gave Man United, considering the lineup, the injuries, the lack of a natural striker. There's still, there were so many reasons for West Ham to play this as a free wild card game. As you said, the record is terrible there anyway, so they could have easily just made a statement and really shown their ambition as a club to try and go for the top four. I thought it was shocking how negative they were. I mean, most of the game they were playing sometimes 5 at the back, 6 at the back, against a really weakened United team.
Attacking lineup, really.
For United?
Yeah.
Well, they had no options. I mean, they had no options. The only players that were available were the ones starting in the attack. When you see Rashford on the left, Greenwood down the center, and James on the out wide, plus the fact that they played a tough game against AC Milan, where they were running and chasing and defending a lot. You could not get a more bigger opportunity to make a statement and show your ambitions to be a top 4 and to go for the top 4. And I think Moyes totally got it wrong. And it was surprising because he didn't do that against Man City. I mean, it was refreshing to see his attacking approach against Man City, against Tottenham. And then to see this against United, they're rightly getting criticized for that performance. That's terrible.
I mean, Shabir, do you think maybe he was kind of trying to think, go 0-0 at halftime, then maybe United will come out and try a bit more, and then maybe hit them on the counter, get Said Benrahma on, get Lanzini on, and really kind of impose themselves a bit more and hit them in the counter and get a goal or nick a goal at the end? Do you think that was the ploy? Because obviously straight away they brought them on as soon as they went down 1-0.
Yeah, definitely that. More to what Adiba was saying as well, I think it's a trend in terms of a lot of the teams, majority of the teams, even, other than really Man City, but majority of the teams, I think, do change their system or the way they play in terms of the defensive structure, just purely because of the pace United have. I'm not saying they're great at counter-attacking, they're good at what they do, but, pace cheats you goals, and we've got abundance of pace up top. But to the question you said, I think maybe that could have been his tactics in terms of, let's see if we can take the games into the last 20 minutes and then try to push some numbers forward. Because, maybe United players would have been tired. Like Adubai said, we had a tough game against AC Milan and majority of those players played that game. So there was a good chance of fatigue kicking in. Plus our record at home hasn't been that great. So taking all that into consideration, maybe I think, that's what Moyes went for, but it backfired. I don't think why I don't see the reason why they had to be that defensive. Like Adubai said, this was a great opportunity for them to try attack us and try to outnumber us because players were fatigued, players were tired, and you can see that by the first half performance. We gave the ball away, numerous times. We gave the ball away. Players were being lazy. Especially Bruno Fernandes gave the ball away a lot of the times, and they had good opportunities as well, which I just think they fluffed. So, it was one of those games. But I think David Moyes was very defensive in the way he lined his team up, and he could have tried a more attacking approach.
I think they could have set themselves up to be compact and deep, but with their identity, with their formation, going to 5 at the back, you know, why do you need 3 centre backs to deal with Mason Greenwood?
Mason Greenwood, yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's not Cavani, it's not 2 up top. I just think if he played with his attacking players, but told them to come deep, drop deep, and in the same way be hard to beat, they would have had more joy, because when they're on the ball, they would have had options and better quality players to keep the ball. But they couldn't keep the ball because there was no out ball. I mean, you got Antonio wrestling against Maguire, Lindelof, and McTominay, who was sitting there.
Yeah.
So there was no way to build an attack there. And then the midfield, none of those players could handle the ball and do a bit of trickery and get out of space and buy some time for West Ham to get up the pitch. I just think the formation, the personnel, everything was wrong.
That's what I was going to say. They didn't really have the personnel to kind of beat that press or show a bit of trickery and really get out of that position when United do press, or if they're under.
I think they had the personnel. I think they had the personnel. He just chose to start with the defensive lineup.
In terms of the people he chose,
the 11 that started the game, he got it tactically wrong. You know, if he had gone with the 4 at the back, you know, with his normal system, and like Adubai said, you know, put men behind the ball and let's hit them on the counter, I think they would have been much more successful, because United did have gaps, as we always are. You know, we're very poor that first half at home all the time. It takes us 50, 60 minutes to get into the game. And that first half, you know, if they had players at the right positions, attacking position, Antonio got the ball a few times and he tussled with, you know, Maguire, and he just needed that 1-2, quick 1-2 to, you know, blow off. But he didn't really have that, and he had to go all the way back to Souček or wherever he was going back to, and it didn't help. I just think, yeah, like Adubai said, he got it tactically all wrong.
I mean, let's flip this on the other side, really, because in terms of Man United and their performance, because this was very dominant, even though West Ham didn't really help themselves. What made the performance even better? Because they literally dominated West Ham. West Ham couldn't really do anything.
I think what was different from previous games against teams that play so deep and defensive is they played at a higher tempo. And they went back to moving the ball about instead of dribbling as much as they do. So even though Luke Shaw was the only one dribbling, he was dribbling slightly from a place where he's further up the pitch, not from left back all the way. He's actually picking it up in the midfield zone and then dribbling. So what happens is you're actually shifting that midfielder, or you're forcing Bowen to make a decision. Do I drop back?
Committed players eventually, yeah.
Yeah, and previously I just feel what they're doing, they're dribbling from deep too much with Maguire, and so they're not shifting anyone around. Here, because they were passing it and then getting it to Shaw in the space, when he's dribbling now, he's shifting a midfielder. So they were able to actually get some passes into Greenwood, some passes into Fernandes, because they've moved Souček, they've moved people around. So the tempo was quicker, and that made a huge difference. And I think obviously the setup that West Ham went to, it was so negative ultimately that it didn't allow they didn't have 2 men out wide to cover, and United attacked down the width. They've struggled to play through the middle recently. So playing 5, they kind of was trying to play. They started off with a 5-3-2 system, then they went to 5-4-1. But still, because of the numbers and that United were coming out wide, it always still felt like they had a 2v1 outside.
It helped with Maguire as well, coming out with the ball. Whether it was Maguire or Lindelof, you know, they came out with that ball, which forced the game.
Yeah. So the main reason is the tempo and the fact that they were moving the ball about 1-2 touch football and less dribbling from deep. They dribbled at the right time, and they've isolated one of the defenders one-on-one. They dribble. So just a lot more cohesive as an attacking plan. I
mean, on United, and in terms of their injuries, Shavia, they seem to have a lot of injuries in the forward areas. Is this a really big concern? Because at the moment they haven't got much choice up there.
Yes, I do think it is a concern. Because you saw Greenwood today, you know, he's full of all the talent in the world, but he lacks that composure and that decision making in the final third. He snaps at shots sometimes, and he just snaps at a lot of things. And just, you know, putting his ability and what he did today aside, he's gonna tire out as well. You know, we've got AC Milan, you know, coming up, and these players are gonna get tired. Back-to-back games every 3 days, especially just if we're rotating between Rashford and Greenwood. They are going to get tired. Rashford just came back from injury, so we don't know, you know, how the 90 minutes did him even today, how he's going to be feeling for the AC Milan game. So I think it is a point of concern, definitely, because our attack is what's kept us this season in terms of, like Aduba said at the beginning, the counter-attack ability and the pace. And even Cavani brings just a different, you know, traditional number 9, brings players into the game. Is always at, you know, the position he needs to be in. And I think, you know, we missed Cavani against AC Milan. Against that AC Milan team. So yeah, it is a point of concern for me anyway, definitely.
It's always a worry at the business end of the year, but if you've got you know, loads of players, you know, key personnel, really, they're not because it's quite a young team, you're going to miss the experience of Cavani, Pogba, even Martial.
Even talking about Pogba, that's another player that I think today would have definitely had an impact on that game. You know, his go-to, Solskjaer's go-to is Fred and McTominay, but I just think, you know, sometimes you need Pogba from that deep position to pick up passes and, you know, to unlock defenses. And
is Van der Beek not available?
Sorry?
No, he's been injured. He's injured.
He's been injured as well, yeah. So, yeah, I just think, yeah, like Aduba said, key personnel, Cavani and Pogba, most definitely. Pogba was on fire, you know. I mean, before he got injured, he was in the form of, you know, his Man United career. So we are missing him, and we could have even done with him today. I mean, we got the job done 1-0, and you know, we played to a good system. But again, I just think Fred and McTominay, as good as they are, very similar, and they're there to, you know, as a CDM, and we just needed we could have afforded to have Pogba on that pitch and have either just Fred or McTominay play, like you've seen before he got injured in some of the games where we just left either Fred or McTominay.
I mean, credit to McTominay, and he said it in his press conference, really, they work on these set pieces, and he kind of got the header kind of like header, and then Dawson got the own goal. So credit to him, even though you're saying
there was enough pressure. There was enough pressure created by him. Yeah, definitely. And McTominay's come a long way. And I think I was speaking to Aduba a few days ago, and he was talking about Aduba. What's our assistant? Is it assistant coach? Michael Carrick. Yeah, Michael Carrick. Yeah, so Carrick's been working with him from once, and you can see he's come a long way in terms of the way he picks the ball up. You know, side on, always looking for a forward pass. You know, he has come a very long way, and you're right, Hassan, in terms of that. But Pogba is Pogba at the end of the day, and McTominay is McTominay.
Oh, of course, completely agree with you there. Did this performance really show West Ham kind of, and David Moyes lacking the real ambition to kind of really go for it for the top 4 or even Europa League positions?
I think so, because you can excuse getting it wrong and doing you know, going with the game plan and thinking, you know, a certain way, and it happens to everyone. But what was strange is he did nothing at half time. He waited about 5 minutes after conceding before he actually changed the outlook of the team, and for me, that's inexcusable. I mean, you saw how the whole first half, you done nothing in the whole first half. United were threatening, maybe not creating clear-cut chances, but they're threatening enough for West Ham players to do last-minute tackles, last-minute blocks. So, you know, it wasn't comfortable. Defending so deep and the setup they had, it wasn't comfortable. So by them not changing that second half, it kind of, to me, it proved that they just don't have the ambition. They're not really going for a top 4 place, because if you look at the gap, I think there's a bit of a gap to Chelsea now.
Yeah,
for that 4th place. So just going to United and going for a draw, if you're ambitious enough to go for the top 4, that wasn't enough anyway. you take it, but to set up in that way, I think they really missed out on an opportunity, and it shows there is a lack of belief and a lack of ambition there.
So would we put that down to like a run of good form for West Ham? If we're saying they lack in ambitions, because I don't think they're a team that are even top 6. I think there's better teams out there that qualify for that top 6 position. But so
Shubia, let me ask you this, because you got to look at United had a game against AC Milan, and they must have been tired. West Ham had the whole week off, so surely they should have gone for more, considering those
100%,
and all those injuries.
100%, knowing that United were thin, coming off a game 3 days ago or 4 days ago, with the injuries we've got, with fatigue, taking in consideration, players getting tired. I personally would have expected Moyes to, go for that, press us, and they've pressed, in previous games. It's not like they can't, and I would have thought they would have tried just that bit more. They would have come out with that energy, that hunger. But I don't know. I just think, he got it all wrong today.
But the thing was, he didn't change it until 70th minute. So how much time do you need to see this is all wrong before? And it's not like you're hampered by injuries. He had a solid bench.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand. That's why I didn't understand. He had a lot of dribblers that can run and commit men, and he chose to bring them up, like you said.
And the reality is, if it wasn't for Fabianski, they would have been behind long before the 65th minute, when 56th minute, when United did score. I mean, it took so long for him to react. Even after the goal, it felt like he wasted another 10 minutes.
Would you put the loss down to Moyes more than the players themselves?
Yeah, definitely, because the setup was wrong.
The setup, definitely Moyes, 100%. I wouldn't blame the players. The players obviously can do what they're instructed to do, and you could tell there was frustration in some of the players. It was really, really defensive, and some of the players, like Souček, he's been such a good player for them this season, and I don't know how many times he got into even our opposition 18-yard box this game. Very rarely.
But if you've only got Bowen and Antonio as your attacking players, I mean, what can the rest of the players? What can Noble, Rice, Souček? They're not gonna go past 3-4 men. They're not gonna create chances. They're a good team. They work hard. They defend and they push up the pitch. But it's the Benramas, the Lanzinis, the Fornas. They're the creative players. Lingard. All right, Lingard was amazing.
Just because you mentioned Lingard, not because he's a United player. And, I know it's his parent club, but I thought they missed Lingard today. What he brought for the last 2-3 games to West Ham, he was that player that was willing to pick it up in the holes, and he'll turn the man, and, he's running that defense, he's trying to make things happen. And they just missed that edge today. If Lingard was eligible to play, I think he would have caused us some damage today.
But West Ham were doing well before they signed Lingard on loan. So those players were doing. Fornals was doing well on the left. Benrahma was doing well in the 10. Bowen was doing well. So it's not suddenly like the teams become dependent on Lingard. I just think Moyes just got it all wrong, and clearly Old Trafford still has some hold over him.
Scars from before. Yeah. In terms of United and the areas they need to improve, because we had a question we asked a question to a supporter of ours who left a comment saying that United need to improve on centre back, defensive mid, right winger, and another striker. What would you agree in terms of that's how many players United need, Adil, or would you say they need less players? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, ideally, I think 4 signings is about right. I would definitely agree with the comment there.
Rashid.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Rashid in his observation. I think those are the positions, the core, centre back, central mid, right winger, and up top. Right now, United. I mean, you have to credit them. They're doing well with a short hand at the moment. I mean, they got well senior players missing. Greenwood is, I thought Greenwood played the best I've seen him in the 9 position. Even though he snatched at chances, you know, he had the right mix of holding it up and running in behind. Sometimes when I've seen him, he's either always looked to running behind or always just played back towards goal and linked up. But this one, he had the right mix. The movement was good. So, you know, we're winning games and we're playing James every game and we're winning games. So I just think United definitely need strengthening, and they're doing really good. But those are the positions.
You say centre back. I mean, you got Eric Bailly, you got Lindelof, who's been doing good. Do you really think you still need another centre back?
Lindelof has spells doing good. You know, it's down to somebody's definition of what good is. You know, Lindelof cannot header to save his life. He struggles to header, and Bailly is just injury prone. As good as Bailly is, and I do like him, he's injury prone. He has too many injuries. He'll give you a good spell of 9 games, and then he'll get injured, and that's him done for 5-6 games.
So who would you get?
United need consistency.
The other thing you have to remember is, against the teams where they have a target man, we're always the reason why Oli seems to go with this 2 defensive mids against teams who defend deep is because they always have a target man, and he uses McTominay as a shield to support Lindelof. So Lindelof and his lack of being a dominant physical presence against target men strikers is actually affecting the way United play, because it means McTominay has to be available to shield. So I think it does affect the plans of United too much. So they definitely need a dominant centre half, hopefully one with a bit of pace.
So that's my question. Who's out there who's dominant with pace that United would possibly look to get?
Well, I mean, there's rumours they're really they're interested in Milinkovic, I think, from Fiorentina. There's quite a few names bandied around. I mean, there ain't a whole load of, you know.
I saw an article. I read an article today on Wesley Fofana. What do you think on that, Dubai? Wesley Fofana.
I don't think he's what United need. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's a good player. He's got pace. He's got strength. But I think if you're going for a title run, you have to go for someone that's guaranteed better than Lindelof. I wouldn't say Fofana might have other qualities, but he's not guaranteed better defender than Lindelof. So I think United have to look in the market of Varane. Even though Varane isn't a dominating centre back, he's still a very good centre back, at least in other areas. And I think he'd be better than Lindelof in the air.
Yeah, it's very good area, yeah.
But maybe not physical, but at least he's better than Lindelof.
I mean, that will probably cover a lot of United's cracks that kind of open up because of Lindelof, really. And like you're saying,
I mean, if there was one other area, definitely a backup right back.
Backup right back.
Just someone more comfortable attacking, like Max Aarons or something, because obviously we've been over reliant on Wan-Bissaka and Maguire this year. They haven't had hardly any chances to rest.
I mean, it could be a same kind of area, really. How when Telles came in, he kind of gave Luke Shaw the push. Maybe that's what's required to push Aaron Wan-Bissaka to the next level and improve it. Maybe someone there to also play with him to kind of make him realize what he needs to do.
I mean, maybe they need 5 signings, but that could disrupt the flow of the team as well. Signing that many big.
That's a lot of players. Yeah. Even signing 4 players that are gonna, walk into the starting lineup, like Adubai said, that is disruptive, because they are a good rhythm. Even with Daniel James or whatever you want to say, Freds and the players like that, Lindelof, they're making it work.
So what is the priority then? How many would you say is the priority?
For me, centre back is a priority, and striker is a priority.
Yeah,
they need to be
centre back
first.
And a striker is, I think, priority, definitely.
Not right.
2 positions, and then I'll go to the.
Well, right wing. The reason why I say it's not as much of a priority is because of the young talent we have coming through. because of Amad Diallo, because of Green. Because if you get a
Greenwood.
top striker, then where does Greenwood's development go? So I wouldn't prioritize that right now simply because of Greenwood and Amad Diallo, but we do need a top striker to take the pressure off Fernandes to have to create and do something all the time.
I mean, thank you both. Another brilliant win for Manchester United against West Ham. Sorry, West Ham, really. Guys, do keep an eye out. We have more videos coming out throughout the week. We have the Liverpool versus Wolves game coming up, and other games throughout the week, really. So do keep an eye out. Like, share, subscribe as always, and thank you both.
Thank you.